You're listening to the Life of Lozo podcast.
We are live here at Life of Lozo.
He is the funniest, smartest, sexiest guy I know.
Lozo is now live.
Yo, this week I share snippets of interviews from my time hosting the Music Experience podcast presented by Shure live at Rockville last weekend. Squiggy from the Music Experience and Don from Stay Tuned Studios co-host as we talk inspiring youth with Matt Pinfield, and Ricky Rockville discusses raising money for cystic fibrosis. Ron from Ron's Guitars explains how there are no rules for creativity, and PGA Tour photographer Chris Condon educates us on why understanding business matters. We get the real answer on how to get an artist endorsement from Orange Amplifier's Alex Auchter, and Rob McCoy from Gator Cases tells us the secret on how to make products that people don't know they need. Lastly, we complete a round of things that make you go with the girls of Gold, Frankincense, and Myrrh. Yo, let's go.
Hey, it's Matt Pinfield, and I am honored to be hanging out with my brothers here on the Music Experience podcast brought to you by Shure.
As you said this morning with the student experience, right? You were talking about follow your dreams and go for your passion. And that's the thing. Like, what do you most love about this environment here, where kids can come in and like check out instruments at the Music Experience?
What you guys do with the Music Experience is one of the coolest things in the world. Oh, you know what? When I see what you guys do, and I love Squiggy so much, I say this. I go, where were you guys when I was a kid? But I'm glad you're there for everybody else. Right. But I mean, that's just almost reflective, but you know what I really mean. I really mean, like, yes, keep that beautiful thing going. Yeah. Keep inspiring young people to pick up instruments and play. Because there's nothing more important than that. I'm sorry, there's nothing like the feel. Yeah. Whether you're a vocalist or a bass player or guitar player or whatever instrument you drums, maybe sax, whatever it is. Yep. There's nothing that's more beautiful in expression.
So when we were coming up with this, it was like, we want to inspire kids again, especially in the digital age. You know, with companies like eBay and Amazon out there, they've done a lot of good things for sales, but what they've done is they've dehumanized the instrument world. Fender isn't about Leo anymore. You know, the Les Paul guitar isn't about Les anymore, right?
Yeah.
You know, Paul Reed Smith guitars aren't really about Paul anymore. Yeah. So we wanted to kind of rehumanize our industry the exact way that 120 Minutes and Headbangers Ball did. Yeah. 5 years ago, when we said we have this idea, it was literally
So I was right on with 5 years, right, guys?
I mean, you guys were the inspiration for it. Yeah. You guys were literally the inspiration for it.
I just got to say that, I was lucky enough as a kid to, like, be in bands from the time I was about 11, 12 years old. And I was usually the singer. I actually was in all bands. I mean, I played keys, I played a little bass, but I was just like, I used to, that was my thing. But I will say that beauty of being able to come in and meet and pick up a guitar and do what you guys do with the Music Experience is what's missing now without the record store and without the video store. Like any of those kind of things, there's that human element that makes it so important. And that's the inspiration of everything. You have to have it. You're right. eBay, whatever. I mean, you know what? My underwear, gives a shit. Personally, what I give a shit is meeting somebody who plays guitar who can tell me, well, this is cool, but this pickup doesn't sound as good as this. And here's a strap that. Passion. The human element, man, is the most beautiful thing in the passion.
Yep. I remember watching Headbangers. I remember watching 120 Minutes, and I grew up on Yo MTV Raps too. Which
I love.
So like for me, I was almost more interested in between the videos.
Yeah.
Like what were you gonna say? Yeah. What was Ricky gonna do? Where was he gonna be with Alice in Chains, and where was Ed and Dre gonna be with EPMD?
Exactly.
Like the videos to me. They inspired me because it was what it was, but it was that in between where you got to tell the stories, and that's what we do here. We were telling stories of Paul and Leo, and every Jim Dunlop and all these guys. So because you guys were master storytellers, you guys were the best. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm grateful, and I appreciate that in every way, guys. That's all we ever wanted to do. I think the thing is, you could always see through the people that were there that really cared, and other ones who wanted to use it as a stepping stone to acting, or it was just another job. I mean, it was my lifeblood. I mean, I wanted to share stories. I wanted to share that love for music. Like a person who loves a guitar, a person who loves whatever, lyrics, or playing the drums, you know, it's a conversation. You know, me and Matt Cameron from Soundgarden were talking, and I said to him after the Temple of the Dog shows, I went both nights, I wouldn't miss it, you know. How you gonna miss it, right? You know what I mean? It's like Pearl Jam, Soundgarden. I went to the shows, and I go to Matt, I go, dude, you covered that Bowie B-side, I almost shit myself. You know, because I love Bowie. I was like, everybody I was with was like, it blew my mind. He goes, guess whose idea that was? And we just talked about the love of the music and why certain things, certain songs. But we all take that with us. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that brings us to an instrument. That's the thing. And my instrument is my voice and stories, right? But I mean, the idea is that whether the guitar is your voice, whether the bass is your voice, whether the drums are your voice, it's the most beautiful mode of expression. I mean, I can't imagine a life without music at all. I can't imagine moving through the world without a soundtrack. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing more important.
Oh, I love that.
No matter what genre of music you love, whether it's my daughter being plays into musical theater or me loving metal and alternative, you know what I mean? Like, you know, music, I just, it will always be, and I'm grateful. I mean, I consider myself a very fortunate man, a very lucky man. But I still work hard, and I worked hard for it. So I sometimes look at it, I think sometimes people appreciate guys like me and Ricky, we work hard. And I came up as a real fan, like there's nothing else I wanted to do, was but be around music. It's what you're doing. But it is about passing it on, inspiring kids.
I remember when I first met you 15, 20 years ago, dude, it's been so long. You know, I grew up in a generation where it's very easy to not trust what you see and you hear, right?
There's a lot of
the trust is very hard for, especially my generation, and I think it's even harder for the newer generation, you know, to really trust the information that we're getting. So when I met you, I remember thinking to myself, holy shit, he is literally the same exact guy
you see on TV.
That you see on TV. Same thing with Ricky. You're like, holy shit, he's the same guy.
Yeah.
But that's not the normal case.
The normal case is
that's not the normal case.
You know, like there's a facade, you know. And I want to believe there's so many great people out there that feel the same way. And you two are an example of it. So is my daughter and Ian, you know, her boyfriend, who is an incredible photographer. Everybody, you know, if you have a passion and you have a need for expression, it's the most important thing in the world. But I know what you mean, because, you know, 90% of those people that you see that get in some of those positions, you're just like, how'd that happen? Or whatever.
They're just not as advertised.
So you learn to not trust. And we mentioned Soundgarden earlier. I remember the first time I met Chris, he grilled me so much the first time I met him, and I watched him not suffer fools gladly. We were over in England, and I watched him look at this one guy who didn't know. He goes, oh, yeah, you were in something. He goes, yeah, we were on SSD first. Whatever it was, it's like, those guys, you know, musicians, music fanatics like us, we can see the bullshit barometer. But I think it's whatever you're into. If you really love it, if you're really looking below the surface, if you're really looking for something with that kind of passion, that's where you're at. So I appreciate you saying that. You know what I mean?
It's the truth. It's the truth.
Hey, I'm Ricky Rackman, and you're listening to the Music Experience Podcast, brought to you by Shure.
And I think, you know, putting good back into the world. You talked earlier about Ricky's Ride, right? Tell me more about that, because I heard it. I was like, how do I not know about this? I'm an idiot, number one. Number two, I better find out right now.
Number three, I don't have a publicist or marketing team, and I never pitch it as a reality show.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I've been riding motorcycles forever.
Yeah.
And I started riding, you know, about I don't know, 15 years ago, me, Tammy, down from Faster Pussycat, and Gilby Clark from Guns N' Roses, we used to all just ride to Sturgis. When I say those guys and then mention the bands, it's stupid because I was friends with them before any of them were in the bands.
Right.
I'm just trying to say it for maybe somebody will know who I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
But we used to ride to Sturgis, and then one time, I just felt like crap, and I rode by myself.
Yeah.
And I really liked riding by myself. And then I started going on these long rides. Usually it was with me and Tammy. Ridden coast to coast 7 times.
Wow.
And then like the past 4 years, I started something called Ricky's Ride, where I would just ride to these places, let people on social media tell me places to stop, and meet all these people and do some really cool things. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger. So this summer, I'm riding through every single state.
Oh, love it.
And I'm raising money for a charity called Claire Wineland's Claire's Place, which is for cystic fibrosis.
Nice.
And all the money I raise is going straight to the foundation. I don't see it.
Yeah.
And you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. All it's Ricky Rackman, and the website is Ricky's Ride, RIKISRIDE.com.
Okay.
And it's the best. And people just, I tell people where I'm going to be.
Absolutely.
And they come and hang out with me.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll go to a gas station, there'll be 3 people there. And I know you people want to go to in-stores where there's 1,000 people. Dude, when you're in Wisconsin, you pull up a gas station and there's one person there that's waiting for you.
Yeah.
That feels good. And
Absolutely.
I like it better
Yeah.
because I can talk to the person.
Right, exactly.
And we'll just talk about stuff, you know?
Yeah, totally.
I love that people love Headbangers Ball, and I love that people love talk to me about NASCAR. But it's like talking to people about anything, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And usually it's the same question that I get asked all the time, but it's still... It's still fun stuff, you know, and I get to ride my motorcycle. I mean, this summer I'll probably do about 13,000 miles.
Yeah.
And it's great.
No, that's awesome.
It's the best.
Yeah, and I love we're talking about connecting with people, and I know that's kind of been a theme of what you said a lot of times when it comes to bands and new bands and small bands, and like actually going out and doing the work to like spend time with your fans. Don't just get a record deal without ever doing a show, right? Actually go out there and do that and grind.
It's interesting for me. I think with social media now, which is bad and good for music, but I think that people now are learning you have to connect with your fans if you want to build that. I mean, to me, of the newer bands, because I don't have that much contact with some of the newer bands, and when I say newer bands, it could be a band that's been around 10 years.
Sure.
But I think a perfect example is Chris Cale from Five Finger Death Punch.
Right.
And Chris truly cares about his fans, makes himself very accessible. And that's why, even though Chris hasn't been in Five Finger Death Punch since the beginning, people love Chris.
Yeah.
Dude, I met Chris when I was in this. I mean, I've been with Chris, and this is something I do not do. I've been with Chris when somebody said, oh, you're in Five Finger Death Punch. My daughter, really likes your band. Will you take a picture? And he's like, no, why don't we make a video, and I'll make a video for her. And he's like, hey, Samantha, sorry I can't be here. I'm Chris Cale from Five Finger Death Punch. I appreciate your support. I hate doing that. So I always talk to you. I hate doing the videos. But it's like, it's that kind of stuff that's going to prolong you in the business, because I know, like, there's bands that I've never seen before that I'll see at Welcome to Rockville.
Right.
And if the band is okay, and then the band goes, dude, I really like what you do, all of a sudden that band's a lot better. And if I go see a band that I don't like, and but if there's a band that's really great and they're just dicks, all of a sudden that band isn't that great anymore. If it's a curse and a blessing that I get to meet these people, because it changes my opinion.
No, it's so true. I love that, because I think you said, like, if they're a 5 and I like them now, they're a 7. Right. If they're a 5 and they're dicks, they're like a 3. I don't want to hear them anymore, right? And I love that idea. And it's funny, we were talking earlier, some friends of mine in the band King, and the first question out of your mouth was like, I love their music. Are they cool dudes, right? I like, you are that to the core.
The reason being is because I have mentioned King on Twitter before, and I know that I have most of my followers might not have heard some of the newer bands.
Right.
So if they hear me saying, hey, this band King kind of reminds you of some old, stuff a little bit, and the singer's got skills like in a Chris Cornell sort of way, but they're heavy. And if I tell that, people are going to see what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Now, if I do that with a band like King, and then I meet the guy and the guy's a dick, I'm like, why did I help promote this band? So when I say, are they cool guys, I don't mean like, are they, I mean, are they good to their fans? Do they keep it real? God, keep it real sounds so cliche, but it's true. And you said they did, and I'm like, good, I'm glad I'm turning people onto them,
Absolutely, man.
And that's what I really like about Welcome to Rockville, Carolina Rebellion, Chicago Open Air, that I get to see bands that I like that I've never seen before. Because I'm not the guy that's just going to every stupid 80s, and I don't say stupid. There's a couple bands from my era that I love and that I'll see all the time. I think Tom Kiefer from Cinderella is phenomenal. I love LA Guns. I love Faster Pussycat. I love Junkyard. And but I like going to see new bands. You know, I was so excited. This was many, many years. It was like 2009 maybe, when I got to meet Lamb of God because I really liked them.
Right.
And I was like, and they came up there and they're like, you know, Randy and Mark, and this is when I first met them. They're like, dude, we love you, love you. Look, we don't put, and I'm just sitting there waiting like, they're gonna make fun of me. They're gonna roll their eyes, but they did. And Mark Morton and I are very, very close friends. And now I like Lamb of God that much more. Same thing with anything Corey Taylor does. You know, I was a hardcore Slipknot maggot fan. I go to I will get on planes to see Slipknot and have never met any of them. And then I met Corey and I met Jim. I'm like, thank God, because I love this band so much, and I don't want the guy to be a jerk. So now that Corey is such a cool, intelligent guy, that makes me a bigger Slipknot and Stone Sour fan.
This is Ron from Ron's World Guitars, and you're listening to the Music Experience Podcast, sponsored by Shure Microphones. Everybody, when I graduated high school in 1986, right? And I mean, you were at that point you're joining a union, you know, in New York, or you're going, you know, to some trade school or something like that. A lot of blue collar, you know, or you're going into like a legal profession or something with heavy school. You know, and I basically said to my father, I'm like, I want to draw. And at first, you kind of would think, what are you, out of your mind? Right, you know, how are you going to make a living doing that? And he never wavered. You know, it was like I came down to the Art Institute in Fort Lauderdale. I only got a 2-year degree, and took it from there. That's awesome. You know, but it was going back to what you said before, man. It was Squiggy calls me up probably about 3 weeks ago on a Saturday night, right? And it was my daughter's 22nd birthday. We're going out to dinner. So I get the call from Squiggy. I'm like, Squiggy, what's up? So he says, hey, dude, he says, can you take a call from Ricky Rackman in like 5 minutes? And I'm like, hang on a second. We got to kill the birthday plans.
Prioritize it.
My kid's like, she's like, who's Ricky Rackman? I'm like, who's Ricky Rackman?
Exactly.
So I said to Squiggy, I'm like, I got to like fan geek for a minute. Because that's my childhood, dude. You know, Rackman, Pinfield. Absolutely. You know, Headbangers Ball. I mean, I watched that stuff religiously because, you know, back then we didn't have all that social media going on. So that was the only time I got to see the Megadeths and, you know, and Metallicas. Those guys didn't get airplay in the middle of the day.
Absolutely.
You know, so I mean, I live for that stuff. So to be able to work with him, especially with something like he's so passionate about, 100%. You know, and it's just, it's awesome. I mean, it's, you know, it's a blessing to be sitting here doing it.
You know, that's awesome. And I think too, like, you know, Don and I have talked, because, you know, he's had a rehearsal space here in Jacksonville for what, over 10 years now, 11, 12 years, you know, and I think just what I love about it, and the reason why I think you survive when the businesses go up and down is passion, right, and a love in delivering a product that is there for people when they need it, you know, and that was just one of the things we talked about, is Don always wanted to stay ahead of the curve of, like, you know, I'm going to be the rehearsal space here that has all the gear already in the studio for these bands, right, and I'm going to have a personal connection with these guys and these girls that are coming in to practice and perform, and it's going to be welcome and open to everybody, and you know, we go there and we podcast on Sunday nights, and I've stopped in on Saturdays, Fridays, and it's like, any kind of music, any type of crowd, any type of people, right? And they just love the space, and it's there, and that type of thing. And I think when you have that passion, you share it out to the community, and you provide that type of thing, I think it's a great thing. I
mean, it's contagious. It really is.
Thank you, Lozo.
This ad brought to you by Life of Lozo Podcast.
Exactly. Well, we're heavily sponsored.
Now we're doing STS Podcast.
Exactly. It's going big. You know, and that's just it. That kind of stuff's contagious, and I strongly believe it. I mean, you know, growing up, especially in advertising, I mean, it can be brutal. You know, you walk in there and you kind of bare your soul with art. You know, the same way I can only imagine some of these bands that go into, you know, these with these producers. It's like, you know, here's what I got, and I mean, they've worked their ass off for it, and you just get that look like, nah. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to hear it, you know, and like you always say, oh, well, you build off, it makes you stronger, but it sucks. You know, it sucks when you're that passionate about it. So to find someone who's just basically said, you know what, dude, whatever you want to do, you know what I mean? It's here, use it. If it goes nowhere, great, but you left here, and I guarantee you're smiling when you left. I mean, that's awesome.
No,
you know?
and I love what you said, like, because I think one of the biggest things that I like about experience, right, is just trying to make people smile, just trying to make people happy, right? Just trying to give them that spark of inspiration, and like Ricky was talking about this yesterday as well, and we were relating it back a little bit to the experience, but like that whole idea of like, it's welcoming, it's cool, you come in here, and also Rob from Gator Cases, right, was talking about how the experience allows people to just walk in without the judgmental element of a retail store.
They're not intimidated.
Right, not intimidated, right? You have people that are representing brands and vendors that are fully passionate about what they believe in, what it matters. That they couldn't be more honored that you're talking to them about learning about what they do. And so it's so open that it's cool to come in here, right? I think Squiggy and I talked about it 3-4 years ago when he was getting into to one of the magazines and using the tagline like Stairway is welcome here.
Yeah, that's right.
Of just that whole breaking away from that retail. We don't want to hear that crap. Well, no, we do. You know, you can sit here right now and hear those licks in the tent because there's kids that are trying, they're playing. They're
learning.
They're learning,
That's
right?
Yeah, don't tell me you learned on Eruption.
Exactly.
I mean, come on, you know what I mean? And if you didn't do it right. You know? So somebody, you have to fall down.
Absolutely.
You know, Eddie didn't play Eruption flawlessly the first time. Don't tell me he came out of the womb tapping. It wasn't happening.
Right. Maybe.
Right? I take that back. You're right. There's probably a few that did. He might be one of them. He might be one of them. I'll give you that.
That's awesome, man. What? Well, let me ask. So just kind of transitioning into like doing this full time now, right?
Yeah.
And having a great amount of time in kind of marketing and advertising. You know, what is it? What's that thing that you would tell an up and coming artist? Let's say yesterday. I guarantee you, somebody that was in this tent was looking at your guitars and here watching bands play, and they're at home doodling, and they're an artist, and they have a passion for it, right? Just from a professional career to doing now what you love in your own brand, what's your advice to them? What would you tell them?
That's a great question, and I mean, I get it a lot. I also get a lot of, what kind of stuff did you use? You know, and I have people who do my social media for me and stuff, and it's because I'm a little old, I'm still trying to learn it. You know? But it's almost like, well, if you show them, they'll do it themselves. I have no problem. You want to hang out with me for the day as I paint it? That's why I got no problem painting it live. It's the easiest advice you can give it, dude, is anything as far as I'm concerned that's creative or talent or anything you got passionate about, there are no rules. The day somebody tells you, well, you can't do it that way, that's bullshit. You know, I mean, it's any way you want it to be. You know, what's in my toolkit? Anything I need. You know what I mean? There's dirty pencils and this and that. Well, get a new one. No, that's the one I want. You know what I mean? There's just it's acrylic, it's oil, it's lacquer, it's whatever you need to achieve it. And I think that's the cool part about it is when you look at a piece of art, you get the Van Goghs, the Picassos. I mean, think about it. They mix their own colors out of dust and use trowels. I mean, it's like, and people are buying it for tens of millions of dollars. Why? That's how he saw his vision. You know, a girl came up to me yesterday and she's like, I've been trying to paint a guitar for 4 years. And I'm like, well, why 4 years? I'm like, are you still perfecting it? What's it? She's like, no, I just can't get it right. I'm like, well, what's right? You know, what are you looking for that to be? You know, are you trying to replicate something? You know, because as far as I'm concerned, it's why replicate it? You know, it's got to be your own. You know, I mean, I've had people come to me and say, oh, can you paint a picture of my wife? No, dude, I can't. You know, and literally, like, my friends are like, we know you could. You know, it's like, I guarantee you, I will view your wife different from the way you view her, and we're never going to see that. Not a good move.
You're not gonna hang that in the living room.
Exactly. You know, that's never going to be a win for me.
I've seen those tattoos online, right?
You know, or your kids. Paint my kid on a guitar. I'm not doing that. So if you're going to hire me to paint a guitar, you're going to get my style. I love it. You know, and I got no problem taking direction. You know, I've got a vision. Absolutely. I mean, that's what's been cool working with ESP and PRS, and we're going to be doing with Fender and Dean. These guys are like, dude, you know what? We love what you do. Do it with us. And they're not like, I want this here and I want that. It's not paint by number. Or I wouldn't do it.
I'm Chris Condon. You're listening to the Music Experience Podcast, presented by Shure.
So full transparency, Chris is one of my best friends, right? So,
I gotta pretend like it's like a stranger. Like, that's cool.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. No, so Chris is one of my best friends, without a doubt. Been one of my confidants for a long time. But Chris and I have this interesting relationship because he is a senior PGA Tour photographer, and his passion is music. Right. So his job's golf, passion's music. My job's music, my passion's golf. Right. So we're like the perfect puzzle piece, together. And so we kind of trade stories, And I've always been kind of fascinated with Chris's story because even though he's probably worked your way up to the highest level of a sports photographer, at least in my opinion, but you come from music, though. You come from music photography. Like some of those pictures you posted online of like Hetfield in the mid 80s, so would you credit music as helping your journey to get where you are?
Absolutely. I have to tell you that music has been a part of my life since day one. I've always been drawn to music as a musician, but also as an artist and a photographer. I remember when I was in college going to see club bands, and back when in the 80s when club bands would bring in 100-can light show and have 3 stage techs, and they're playing Motley Crue and Van Halen covers, and I was just like, wow, this is like a real concert.
Yeah.
This isn't just some bar band in the corner playing in the dark. It's visual, it's entertaining. And so I started shooting about the same time that I started playing drums. And so those 2 aspects of my life have always been there. Yeah. And even though I work in the world of golf, I love the world of music. Yeah. And I love weekends like this where Squiggy and I can get together, and I'm in his environment for a change. And I get to see him be the big guy.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I think, too, like we were talking a little bit earlier before we started recording, just around passion and how when you have a passion, specifically around music, right? And a lot of the experiences around inspiring kids to get involved one way or another, but that it sticks with you your entire life. Regardless of what you end up doing, it's always a slice of your life.
Absolutely.
For you, how does that play out?
I would say that the biggest thing is that when you're passionate about something, you don't have a choice, right? You have to do it. Yeah. It's always there. So whereas, myself, like a lot of kids, have that dream, I'm going to be a multi-platinum selling rock star and I'm going to be flying in jets and playing arenas. Yeah. Look, there's a very small percentage of people that actually make it to that level. Uh-huh. So you have to look at music and the things around music that you can do as a vocation or a career. I photograph bands. It's not my main source of income, but I love doing it, and it's something that can keep music in my life.
Yeah.
So I have a day job that I'm very fortunate to have. I mean, I do a job that most people would love to have.
Yep.
So I have that. That's fantastic.
Sure.
But I still want to be part of music. And if you can have some involvement in it in any way, shape, or form, then that's worth it, because that's something for you.
Sure, absolutely. No, that's great. And I would say, too, I think we have, as a part of the student experience and talking about like jobs within the industry besides being the rock star, right? I guarantee you, and I know some up-and-coming young photographer, videographer talent, Cameron with the team, right? He's out there getting footage right now, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But they have the same passion for music, but they have a different talent or a different passion for photography. What would be your advice to, a young kid or a young man or a young woman or anybody who's trying to like make photography a career? With the advent of social media now, it's much easier to get your stuff out there.
Right.
But what would you tell them if you had literally 2 minutes to say, this is what you should be thinking about or doing if that's the path you want to go?
I would say the most important thing is take a lot of business classes.
Yeah.
Because the photography part of it is the easy part.
Uh-huh.
Autofocus, digital cameras, Photoshop, laptops. You can have a full production studio in your backpack.
Sure.
And so does everybody else.
Yeah.
So the difference in making a career out of it versus doing it for fun is your business sense and learning how to run it as a business. And you're going to invest a lot of money in equipment, and you're going to invest a lot of time covering jobs. You got to make sure that you're actually getting paid for it.
Right.
And granted, we all pay our dues and we all have to do stuff for free to get started, but you find that it's real easy to continue down that path and go, oh, well, I got great access to that festival. I didn't make any money, but boy, I had a good time.
Right.
Meanwhile, there are photographers out there that make their living doing it.
Absolutely.
And the difference is it's a large gap.
Yeah.
So business. And I can say that for music as well.
Sure.
If you're a musician and you want to be in a band and you want to be a rock star and you want to live in a tour bus and you want to travel the world, you better understand the business end of it.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't, somebody's going to take advantage of you.
Yeah. No, that's great advice.
One of the things that is so interesting about mine and Chris' relationship, our relationship, is we get to kind of put our feet in both golf and music. At some point they intertwine, right? So I've gotten to, because of the music experience, forge friendships with artists and go play golf with them, right?
Right.
Whereas Chris has forged relationships through golf and then been their road photographer, So Chris is really bad about tooting his own horn, so I'll do it for him, But you met Darius, through golf, basically, and you ended up being his kind of tour photographer for a little while,
Right.
And so we get to kind of put our feet in both of those waters, and most people don't get to do that.
Right.
And so it's like we have similar stories from very different perspectives, but we found a way to intertwine our jobs and our passion.
That's awesome. Well, I think it's just, in general, the world and life is about connections, right?
It is.
And how you show up and who you are, and especially when you have people that have passion, right? Like you align passion, even if it's two different things. You can sense that in somebody that says, like, you really love what you do, and I really love what I do, and we have that that same commonality.
Yep.
So, like, let's talk about that. Let's learn something from one another. So one of the things that always, like, gets me with photography is, like, when you can see something and it evokes a certain emotion. Right. So when it comes to, like, your tenure of being a photographer, what photo is that for you? Whether one that you took or somebody else took? Like, what's the first thing that pops in your mind around something that truly captured the moment of it being just a photograph?
So the photograph for me that is kind of my inspiration and a guideline that I use when I'm covering events is the Muhammad Ali Sonny Liston photo, where Ali is standing over Liston, just roaring, and it's just such an iconic sports moment. But if you look closely at that picture, there's a line of photographers behind Ali, and they're taking a picture of his butt. And I always said I never want to be that guy. Nice. I always want to be the guy in the front, capturing the moment. And I think that for me, it's storytelling. It's telling the story of things that not everybody sees. And that's where you have to have trust. You have to have the access and the trust of the people that you're photographing to feel at ease around you and not be self-conscious and know that you're not gonna put them in a bad light. You know, that you're there to tell a story that other people can't see. And I think that's the biggest value I find in photography now, because especially concerts. Okay, so here we are at a festival. I have a photo pass. I get to go up into the pit for 3 songs. Then I get thrown out. Well, guess what? The girl right behind me with her iPhone in the front row is going to get amazing pictures for the whole show. So what can I do that's different? That's what I'm always thinking, is how can I be different?
This is Alex Auctioner with Orange Amplifiers, and you are listening to the Music Experience Podcast.
So Alex, one of the things that we want to talk to you about is, I think it's kind of like the $1 million question that everybody kind of wants to know, and especially artists need to know. And I think there's been so much urban legend about how it actually works. Can you explain the process of artist endorsement? And,
like how to get an endorsement?
Yeah, and you know, just like people think all you do is give away free gear, right? And I've heard people go, oh, he's an A&R guy, right? He's an artist guy. Oh, he just gives away free gear. And we had a conversation at NAMM one year that I walked away going, you couldn't give me that fucking job. Like when you explained to me about having backline all over the world, you know, I was like, I have no interest in doing that. So just kind of talk about like a day in the life of an artist relations guy. And Orange Amps to me is like the pinnacle brand in our music right now. So, you know, I don't think there's a better brand to ask somebody about this, and I don't think there's a better A&R guy to ask. So just kind of, you have the forum, man.
Just shower me with compliments, man. Just give them to me. So there's definitely a misconception. We don't give away very much. We mostly consider ourselves like support mechanisms for artists. So we can help them lower their costs, and we can help them, sometimes we do subsidized costs entirely. You know, like an artist is on Conan O'Brien, I'm gonna pay whatever I have to pay to get gear there. But, you know, for the most part, there are 4 ways that we help artists. There's special artist pricing, which is a big deal because we make expensive stuff. And it's about 40% off what you buy something for in a Guitar Center, so it saves a lot of money. And that also kind of weeds out people that actually just want an endorsement versus really want an Orange endorsement, you know, because you got to be willing to pay for it a lot of the time. Backline support, which you mentioned, is like 60% of my job. It's logistics of getting heavy-ass amps all around the world for people to use. Got a lot of backline companies. Backline is loaner gear, and we got loaner gear on every continent. We've got a lot of distributors that help us coordinate the loaner gear for artists. And that always ends up bringing down the cost a lot for artists that really, again, want to use Orange. And then I offer priority tech support, which is like, call me at, 1 a.m. You know, you're in Europe and you think that it's time to call me, but it's actually bedtime for me. But that's priority tech support. And then also content sharing and cross promotions. I don't do a lot of print ads anymore, so I look heavily to the bands to endorse us on their social media, feed me content all day long as much as they can, anything that features Orange. And then, there's a lot of ways that I can help bands that you wouldn't necessarily think about. Occasionally I'm able to help a band get onto a tour or get into a festival or something like that. And then there's a lot of just like helping employees get into concerts. Yeah.
I mean, we get to talk with a lot of kind of like the baby bands, and, for example, we were just talking to Them Evils, and, that guy already plays Orange, he loves Orange, and there's a lot of bands that are coming up. And like, so how much does that mean to you when a band is already playing Orange, when they get to the point where you actually know who they are?
That increases your chances of getting endorsed fourfold, for sure. Yeah, it's true. It just shows that they really know what they want. They really want Orange, and they've taken the time to search me out. And of course, it's a compliment. When I started doing artist relations for Orange 10 years ago, there was not a lot of that happening. I was more proactive probably then than I am now. Now I can kind of just sit back and relax in some cases when it comes to like artists seeking out endorsements. It's kind of working for itself in that sense. But it's a huge compliment for them to be already playing Orange. And right now I've had to increase my standards for endorsement. I really am looking for bands that are touring internationally, because that just shows that you've taken that step. And there are a lot of ways that I can help bands internationally, so it's a big benefit to them. But yeah, touring international bands right now are way more likely to get endorsed. There are plenty of bands that don't do that, and I still work with them. Some of them, their social media has huge numbers, or they don't have huge numbers, but their engagement is huge. And those bands are doing me a service in their own right as well. But obviously, it helps to have Orange amps on stages, and on a worldwide scale. Absolutely. So yeah, that's a big deal for me.
I mean, the artist relations, A&R, endorsement, we've heard just every variation of it. Like, if they give you one of this, it's because they want you to sell 10 of this, Yeah. And there's all these bizarre equations that Urban Legend has come up with, And, I think people think that, and maybe you do, I don't know. I mean, have you seen a band in like a local club that you just happen to be at and they don't really have any of the things that you're looking for as right now? You just know that one day they're going to be great,
I have done that.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the best example of that. It might be Crowbot.
Yeah?
Crowbot is one of my favorite bands, and one of the best bands I've ever seen live. And I saw them play in Atlanta to a crowd of like 10 people. And they put on a show that would have been fine opening for Led Zeppelin in like 1974 or whatever. Like, it was amazing. I mean, it impacted me greatly to the point that I was like, let's do this. I don't even really care if you can afford it. Like, I want you to have these amps on stage. And I mean, luckily I'm able to do way more of that kind of stuff now, actually. I mean, I don't take a whole lot of chances, but back in the day, 10 years ago, I didn't give away anything. I didn't even send stuff out on extended loan, which is really the majority of when somebody says they're giving something away, most of the time they're just keeping it on their books and they're loaning it for a long time to a person. If you have a feeling that you're never going to ask for it back, like with Head from Korn, I gave him a bunch of amps recently. They're on my books. I know I'm never going to ask for that back. And they're depreciating over time. Not everything is depreciating over time, though. Some of that stuff, I'm like, I might need to get that back from you,
Yeah.
But, like we said, the artists or endorsements that are like really varied, like I want you to have this amp, but you have to sell 10 amps or whatever, like the Urban Legend thing you were talking about. That's actually 100% true, man. I set up different deals for different artists all the time. Some artists just have an awesome sway on the internet, and I'll give them an amp, and I'll be like, you owe me 3 videos. Self-edited, self-produced, make sure it sounds good, and I get to release it on my channel.
It's Ron McCoy with Gator Cases, and you're listening to the Music Experience Podcast presented by Shure Microphones.
One of the things with the music experience is, we like to tell people things that they don't even realize that they want to know. Right?
Correct.
And I think with you guys, what attracted me to Gator in particular was because you have to be that way in cases too. You have to come up with things that people don't even know that they need.
But they do know. They do know, because once they see it, they say, "Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I needed." So I mean, there was a good 5 or 6 years of where we were just knocking it out of the park with things that just sit down and think of. Let's watch this band set up and see everywhere where they're pulling out an old suitcase or something like. There you go. There's our opportunity. Or let's watch this guy fumble with trying to put a wireless on top of his amp, and it's going to keep on falling off. So let's make a little bag that kind of keeps it all in one place. It's things like that. Just watching and listening. Listening is so important in what we do. You can go into a music store if you ask them, how would we make the perfect guitar?
Sure.
And they all got ideas like crazy. You ask them how do you make the perfect case, it kind of stop them in the tracks, because that's not what they daydream about all day.
Right.
We sit there and watch. We look for the openings. We look for anytime there's a, where we see somebody struggling, and we try to fill that.
Well, and I love that idea too, because I think just to be an innovative company like that, right, requires people that have a passion. So you mentioned like everybody's a musician, right?
Yes.
So you guys know, right? Like you have a feeling, you have a need, you have things that you don't like of other things, but then also you just observe and you watch, right? I think there was a quote about Henry Ford, and he said like, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? And I would have never made the car, right? So I just love that idea of saying it's not about us coming up with a great idea. It's literally us being humble and watching, and having a passion for being musicians and watching musicians, and just sitting back and going like, let's just see what they do. Oh wow, like that we can help there, right? Oh wow, like we can help there, and I love that, because I think, to me, like when I think being an old DJ, right? So I had Anvils, I had Odysseys, I had SKBs, you name them, right? Back in the 90s, early 2000s. But that was the thing that I saw, was it was always the same cookie cutter. Here's what it is, here's what it's for, right? And then they all got into that habit of the pull foam. Right? And they thought that was customization, right? Like that was how they defined it. Like that, now it can be customized. Not really, right? Like you just made pull foam, right? So I really love that Squiggy being so excited and showing me some of the products and talking through it, of just the new things that you guys have coming out from an innovative standpoint. But it makes sense, because you're meeting the need of the musician who actually uses it.
Yep, and all those case companies that you just mentioned, they're all great, and they all do what they do really good, and there's nothing wrong with that. No. But a lot of times, especially with people going on the internet today, they'd like to see everything they can get. So, and we really, we have almost 900 SKUs, active SKUs, that really do address everything we've ever seen somebody want to have. We've got the basics. Of course, we have to have the basics in every flavor, but if you checked out the website, you'd see that these guys have really kind of thought of some things. And I don't want you guys to think I'm saying that we're geniuses, because it's coming from everybody else. They're telling us what they want, and we're listening, and then we turn it around, and they love it, and I love it.
Some of the SKUs that we use as the music experience, like you guys have this thing called a media tray, right? Which, when you describe it, it sounds so simple, right? But like, we've got 4 of them in there, right? It's literally what looks like a speaker stand, right? With a flat top on it, with some traction tape, right? And like that's just it, right? Like that's all there is. And we've got 4 of them in there. So we got laptops on them. We've got signing flats on them. It's just like, I didn't even know we needed that, and that's awesome.
Well, you know what though? That's a good example, because that stand, when we started to make that stand, we did it exactly what you said, a laptop or a projector or something on there. Then we realized we're watching things like late night shows or MTV, and we're watching all these bands, and there's singers, like the keyboard player isn't the traditional keyboard player anymore. So we're noticing that there's like little samplers right by the singer or by the guitar player. So we made that tray, just so you know, you can flip that around, and it's also a keyboard stand, because it doesn't have a lip on the backside.
I didn't know that. Wow.
But we watched people set up, and we were like, oh my gosh, they're limited now, because there's a lip around the side that has the laptop. Flip it around, no more lip, it just has a lip to hold it on the bottom, and it's a small keyboard stand too.
Love it.
That's exactly, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a good example of what we're trying to look for.
The other one is the AV stand, right? So like, one of the biggest pains in the ass that we were dealing with was hanging TVs on trussing, right? Looks cool, right? It looks great, but it's a pain in the ass.
Right.
It is a big pain in the ass. You guys have a SKU that, you know, it's like a traditional speaker stand, kind of, right?
Yes.
And then once you put the TV on it, it like automatically like raises.
Yep. It's piston driven.
Right?
Yep.
Right.
Which is like, instead of like having one guy hold the TV up, right, the other guy trying to wrap, you know, the thing around, you know,
Right.
and we could only put the TVs where the truss was.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So you guys had this product that, once again, it's like, it sounds so simple.
Right.
And we were like, all of our TVs are going on that.
Well, you want to know where that came from? We had DJs telling us that I can't lug this truss around all the time.
Right.
You know, sometimes either the venue's too small or my car is too small.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know, why can't you do something like a speaker stand? Okay, that's what we did.
Yeah.
So we have two versions of them, one with the piston and one without. And boy, they've been really popular, and it's, you know, we're watching our competition follow us into the market.
Of
so,
course.
You know, that's good. That's a compliment. So it's all good.
You know, some of the big kind of utility cases that you guys have, they have dividers in them, right? Which is great for us, like with cables. So like IEC cables here, XLR cables here, 1/4-inch cables. And then there's two kind of drawers that go on top, you know, so we can put like screws in one. It's just, it's so obvious. Like when you see it, you're like, there it is.
So that goes into the, it's not custom, but it's almost custom because you can make it do whatever you want. And but those are our truck pack series, and you know, those are so popular because everybody needs something to put a bunch of something in.
Right.
You know, drummers use those. We have a bunch of drummers that are actually on tour and put most of their kit in something like that. So it's a really convenient thing, you know, and it can take a beating too. That's one of the ones that, you know, if you're going around town, you probably don't need that, but the guy who needs it definitely knows he needs it.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Dude, I love the 4-inch casters that you guys put on them, you know? Or at least the ones that we got 4-inch casters. But, I mean, a lot of times we don't have flooring, you know? So a lot of times we're on grass.
Right.
And those cases, even filled up, just glide over the grass, you know? And you don't cherish that unless you had the ones that don't go easy on the grass, you know? And so you guys have really kind of solved a lot of our issues that took up a lot of our time, you know? And I'm just a fan of the brand, you know? And anybody that knows me knows that when brands come in, I'm kind of a snob about it a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, like...
Yeah, not everybody is here.
No. The companies have to be cool, you know, they have to have a great story, but more so, like, it just has to be awesome. It just has to be cool, you know? And we've always kind of steered away from case companies because it was hard to make it cool. And then I came across you guys. We had a mutual friend. I got introduced to Crystal, and just realized, man, that you guys really get it, man.
Well, I appreciate that. I know Crystal appreciates that. I know she had a great time this morning. You know,
she was wonderful
doing the panel, and she was a little upset going first every time. But I said, you don't want to follow Ricky Rackman, you know? It's a big story. You have to tell that. So. But you know, Crystal really, you know, she learned from her dad. She really drives this company in such a positive way. She lets everybody be themselves and contribute it in so many ways. And she wasn't kidding when she said, and myself earlier, pretty much everybody at Gator is a musician. And they've all found a home to where they can still be involved in music. I'm so happy that I get to do stuff like this. This is, you know, this is when I was 16 or 17 years old. I'd be like, woohoo, let's do this every weekend, you know. And then over time, you know, it's just my job and this is all together, and I love it. You know, and plus experiences like this make me think of my daughters at home too. They're like, boy, if somebody in our town did something like this, you know, this would be something that could grab them. When I was younger, if somebody I'm from New York City, they never had nothing like this. So if I would have had something like this, maybe you know, I'm very happy with the way my life turned out, but maybe I would have been the rock star. But you know what? I didn't have to be.
Hey, we're GFM, and you're listening to the Music Experience Podcast presented by Shure.
There's a part of my show that I like to do where it's called Things That Make You Go, okay? It's a letter H and then MMMM, okay? So the first letter H, this is what I'll ask all of you, is what's your favorite holiday and why?
Holiday and why? You go first, you did? Okay, I'll go first. Believe it or not, my favorite holiday is Valentine's Day. I'm single, but I just like the colors. I do. I'm single. I like to mingle.
You just slid that in there, right?
I had to get it in there.
Right? Yeah. It's basically like I'm open to all the gifts you want to give me.
I know. Give me all the chocolate and candy, and I'll never talk to you again.
Yeah. Right. That's fantastic. I love it.
I like Halloween just 'cause it's my birthday.
Okay.
So I get candy and presents and cake, and you get to dress up in costumes.
I like it. All right, so we got 2 candy holidays now.
Yeah.
I like Halloween because I like to dress up. Like I love acting and like, you know, being a completely different person. But also 4th of July, like all the fireworks is crazy. I love 4th of July. Merca. Hashtag Merca.
So 4th of July is actually my birthday, right?
Oh, wow.
And as a kid, my mom was great because she had me convinced that all of this was for me. She's like, they're celebrating your birthday downtown Detroit. Let's go down there. Like, this is amazing.
I'm so loved.
And then I figured out, wait a minute, hold on. You know, like, what's this 4th of July?
It's just a national holiday.
Yeah, right, yeah. So yeah, she was smart. She was great. She had me convinced for a long time. So, yeah, 4th of July is a good holiday. Okay, cool. So the first M is your favorite movie.
Oh, I got mine.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
My favorite's The Proposal.
What was it?
The Proposal.
The Proposal? Okay. I like it. All right.
I don't know.
And any Marvel movie.
Any Marvel
Just putting that out there.
Okay.
You know, there's too many to pick from, so I just say Marvel.
I love like the what is it called? Like the musical, kind of the old musicals. Not Gone with the Wind. Sound of Music.
Sound of Music. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Phantom of the Opera.
Oh yeah, and Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, Phantom.
You'll hear her singing that everywhere.
All the time. You're not gonna say like Independence Day because the explanation of Independence Day was the funniest thing to me about that video.
Oh.
Like spoiler alert, like aliens come down and then they fight and then they go away and they come back. Yeah, I thought it was funny.
And it is so predictable.
Right.
We didn't even see the first one, and we already knew what's gonna happen.
I already knew what happened.
Our dad was like, "Let's go see it. Come on, I really want to see the second one." And I was like, "I can tell you what's gonna happen right now."
I'll tell you exactly the breakdown right now.
Yep.
This is the 30-second Lulu assessment of the movie.
30-second summary right now.
Right? Yeah.
You know, I think that's our new podcast, 30 Seconds
30-second summary.
Absolutely,
You know
30-second summary. I love it. It's genius.
Let's
Tongue
go.
twister too. Say 30-second summary.
30-second summary. 30-second summary. I can't do it. 30-second summary. 30-second summary. 30-second summary. No, that's tough. All right. Okay. All right. So second M is music.
Music.
Yeah. Man, this is a little bit closer to home here.
Yeah.
What's your favorite band, or maybe song, or maybe album? But you only get to pick one.
Well, you know what? There
Only
is
one.
this band.
Oh yeah,
They're pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they're pretty out there.
And they're actually really pretty, you know.
They're pretty too.
Their name starts with G and ends with FM.
No way.
Yeah.
No, Squeaky said the same exact thing.
Really?
This is unbelievable.
I mean, we probably got the same taste. I mean, great minds think
Hold on, let me write
alike.
this down. GFM.
Yeah, you should check them out.
Man, so it's at GFM band.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Their drummer's like the best. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all hail her. I mean,
I'd
she's
argue
amazing.
That the bass guitar player, she's pretty hot.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, she's okay compared to all the other ones, but you know.
Just those two, though? Just those two?
Yeah, just those two. I mean,
guitar's
the guitar's still good, you know. It's hit or miss.
She's got some cool rings in her hair.
Right, yeah.
I think my favorite bands are. I'm really.
You only get one.
Oh.
I know, this is the hardest part of this thing. You get one band.
Well, I'm really like with songs. Like I'll find one song that I like.
Yep.
And then I'll listen to it nonstop, and then I'm like, oh, I'm tired of that song. Let me go to the next one. And I'll listen to it nonstop, and I'm tired of that one now. I don't really like shuffle through a playlist. I'm like, I click shuffle, and then I go down to the one I like, and I click that one, and I listen to it
And you overplay
nonstop.
it. Yeah.
Okay, can I say a band that's not my favorite band, but a band that's like my binge band right now?
Sure.
I really like The Word Alive. They're my new binge band. I
like
found
it.
them like a month ago, and I'm just like finding all their music.
Awesome.
So.
See, I'll tag them on this episode, and we'll get
I'll
them.
be like, hey, Word Alive, go on tour
troll
with
them
us.
a little bit, right? And, if they like me back, I'm gonna screenshot and send it to you.
Best be calling me up for a tour now.
Right. Okay. All right. Band, song, music, album.
I like Periphery because they have such like a different sound.
Yeah. They have. I think I saw them in Orlando last year at UCF. Are they the ones that have like the bass? They spin it around in a circle. Is that those guys?
I don't know.
I don't know. They were Periphery played, and there was another band that played, and they were all opening up for like Five Finger Death Punch at UCF.
I know Shinedown and Five Finger Death Punch went on a tour last year.
That might have been the tour that I went to.
I don't know if
but I saw them play. They're really good. I can't
Yeah.
remember which band they were as far as like both bands that we watched were fantastic.
Yeah.
But very cool. Okay. So the third M is meme. What's your favorite internet meme right now?
Dank memes. I love memes.
I see everybody does. Right. What's the favorite one? You only pick
favorite
one.
Oh, this is hard.
How do you
There's
even
so many
describe it? Like
you act. I mean, there's certain ones you can describe.
Yeah.
There's like I don't know.
do you say it?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Yeah.
like talk about it.
There's a lot of good ones.
There's too many. I'm the person who like just looks at memes all day.
Yeah. So am I.
I'm the person that just looks up funny animal memes.
My search bar, dank memes.
Yeah.
Like Skeptical Hippo. It's one of my most favorite animal memes of all time. Just a look on that hippo's face. And I saw another one the other day. It was like Skeptical like llama or something. It was very similar, just like, yeah, right. You know what I mean? I was like, it's one of my, like I had it on my desktop on my computer for the longest time. And when people would tell me something that's crazy, I just turn my computer around.
I got mine.
Yeah.
I got mine.
All right.
My favorite one is this picture of this chicken, and this chicken is staring you straight in the face, and it says, "The chicken may have crossed the road, but the road never crossed the chicken."
Oh. All right, that one's getting tagged when we put this out. Yeah.
Road never crosses the chicken.
Look at this. Is she a snorter? We got a knee slap.
She is a snorter.
Yeah, I can
if
tell.
you get her laughing real hard, she'll start snorting.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right, and then the final M is memory. What's your favorite memory so far?
When I was the only sister born.
She got you back.
Got him.
Got him. She's like, that's for the guitar comments. Like, you guys left me out. Okay. Got him.
I could have been a solo band.
Oh.
No.
I love it. It would just been called Gold.
I know.
Right?
I am gold. I know.
Yeah.
Like
She's like, wait, this is a good idea.
I know. What? Why did I think of this? I think my favorite memory was the first like real festival we played was Rock the Tarmac up in New York, and like we were the opening band for the festival. It was last year.
Yeah.
And though like we had like a little intro, it was playing and like it wasn't turned up all the way, so people didn't know what was going on. And the second we walked on stage, everyone just like flooded to the front. Like I had this whole thing that I was trying to say. I was like, "Oh yeah, everybody get to the front!" Like I didn't even get to say it because they just ran. And I was freaking out. My knees were shaking. I'm like, I don't know what to do. But the second we started playing, it was like a whole nother world. So I think that's my favorite.
That's
memory.
awesome. Yeah, that's super cool.
I think my favorite memory was we were on the cruise, and it was the last night. All our voices were shot because we were playing in the casino, and that was the only place you could smoke.
And she was screaming
and
every night, so it sounded like, "Okay, guys, give it up for Batman." That's what she sounded but like, because like that's what I didn't know how to scream. I was doing it completely wrong. I was wrecking my voice, and we were inhaling cigarette smoke and all night. And she's like, "Give it up for Batman."
Welcome to this show. This is the GFM band.
Guys, it's GFM. I'm a woman.
Come on, rock it out. Yeah, sponsored by Marlboro and every other cigarette company. Yeah.
But we looked out into the crowd, and Chris from Motionless in White was there because he was playing on that tour. Actually, the whole Motionless in White band was there.
Wow.
1,000 Foot Crutch was there. Demon Hunter was there. Breaking Benjamin was there. All of them came to look at us, and I know we sucked so bad.
So bad.
We had no click track. Like I was playing
We had no
free.
click.
Nothing.
Nothing. Just going at it.
Just going full force.
And we were speeding through the set. We finished probably 10 minutes.
I think we were speed metal. We played it like twice as fast.
That's what you're supposed to like kicking speakers over and just making a mess.
Except that night was my finger. I cracked it, and so there's blood all over their snare drum.
And it wasn't our drums.
It wasn't our drum
Did you not
either.
take a picture and like Instagram it?
No, we didn't want them to know it was us. We want to be invited back, so.
Go.
Yeah.
Right?
Who put their finger blood on that drum?
Right.
But-
But see, now you're a rock band. Like now you're out there. Now you gotta.
And now I want a picture of that, and I'm like, where was that when I went?
Right. So we were watching you. Don't be doing it on purpose. Okay? Keep it up. Yeah.
I think that was so cool to be able to look out there and be like, and then we got to talk to Chris, yeah, and he talked to us, and he was like, we were like, what's something that we can improve on other than speed metal, And he said, I don't have any. He said, I have questions for you guys. Like, how do you do it? And we're like,
wow.
And that was when we didn't really know about the whole metal thing, And so we didn't really know any of those bands.
We didn't understand the depth of that situation.
Yeah. Sure. And so now we're like, where were we? We were just sitting there like, where's the ice cream? Like, thanks, guys.
We were excited for the ice cream on the cruise ship more than the band.
Right.
Yeah. there's 24-hour ice cream. 24/7.
24 hours. I'm still kind of excited.
At like 4 in the morning,
Life
we would
on a
go
boat,
get ice
man.
cream.
Yeah, cruise ships are crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
And if you get special, they're sprinkles.
Yeah.
But you got to get those fast because they run out.
They go quick. Yeah.
Sprinkles
absolutely.
are for winners only. So.
Sprinkles are for winners, right? Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. I say water's for workers. That's what we say here. Water's for workers. You're not putting in work, you don't get any water.
The Life of Lozo podcast is brought to you by Stay Tuned Studios, The Taylor Shop Inc., 03 Productions, The Beaver Game, Rhyme Designs Clothing, and Jack Sports Nutrition. Please visit the links in the episode details, subscribe to the podcast, rate me 5 stars on iTunes, and look out for the full interviews from the Music Experience podcast presented by Shure in the near future. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you next week. Peace.